It's December the 28th, Thursday. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. Hope you guys had a fantastic day. I hope you're all getting ready for the new year and got some goals set for 2024. Try to move forward. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world and that it'll make you depressed if you're not moving forward. If you're not getting after it and competing and getting out there and trying to do something in the world, make something better, make yourself better, make your family better, make your community better, something. Do something to make the world a better place. Man, you will get bogged down in all of this stuff that people talk about all the time, and you'll start getting all kinds of health problems. And that's what we battle every single day. We just keep battling it. Sometimes we got to push back against some things. Sometimes we got to say no, don't go for that. Um, yeah, it's just not. This is not the way that we roll at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. It's not the way healthy people roll anywhere on the planet. And so, we're a weird group. We're a weird group of folks that just try to be healthy, live an awesome life, try to make the most out of every day. And that's really the thing. That is the biggest thing of all of the things that it gets down to it is at the end of the day, you better have a why. Better have that reason that keeps you going. So, we started this September 1st. We've been at it now for 4 months. Um, Sometimes it makes me laugh because I'm like, man, I'm just hoping that someday I'll get good at it. You know what I mean? Like maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months. We'll just stay at it until we kind of figure it out. But we've been at it 4 months, and we've talked about a lot of stuff. We've reviewed a lot of books. We did Getting Things Done last night with David Allen, and that was a kind of butchered that deal last night, but it was at least it kind of give you a little bit of thought that maybe it might like spur you a little bit to hey, you know what? Maybe I should kind of organize myself a little bit, and maybe I kind of ought to get some things put together so that I can get ready for 2024 and and see what I can get done in this year. And that's one of the things my background in athletics. We used to end the season like these bowl games are going on right now in football, and the seasons are over for these guys. Like Texas Tech went to their bowl game, did a fantastic job. They won their bowl game, and they ended on a high. But the season's over. Now they got to do some recruiting and get ready for next year. And as of right now, their record is 0-0 for next year. And when I got into chiropractic and got out of coaching and started this whole wellness journey, you know, I was like, there was a couple of things that I realized right off the bat. The number one is that there's no off season. Every single day, and you guys that are in business, y'all sure know what this means. It's like there's no off season. There every day you're battling. And it doesn't make any difference if it's December or if it's April or if it's July or if it's October. It's you're every single day you are in season and you are competing and going full speed. And the other thing that I realized is, and my dad used to talk about this when we were training horses. He said, one of the things one of the things that he taught me is you can get your horse beat if you want to. Like, and what he was trying to say by that is you got to watch out who you schedule. You got to be careful, and the same thing goes in athletics. When in college football or any other sport, as far as that goes, you got to watch out who you schedule because you'll be in trouble. You get yourself hooked with somebody that's got more speed, more class, more whatever than you've got. And in horse racing, you can sure do that. There's classifications of horses for a reason because if you're not careful, you'll get beat. Well, when I've known that my whole life, but when I got into business, one thing that I did realize about business was you can't schedule anybody. Like I can go to a chiropractic seminar. I can go to any kind of seminar as far as that goes. And I can hear some guru standing up in the front and he could be telling us all about how awesome he is. And if that was a football coach, if that was a football coach's clinic, that guy might be standing up there telling everybody how awesome he is. And the very next guy that comes up on the stage might have film about when they played those guys and how they beat the dog out of them. So you gotta watch it. Like you can't just spout off at the mouth. That's the greatest thing about football. You can't spout off at the mouth and just run your mouth because someone might hit you in the mouth. But in business, you can, and especially in today's world with everybody's got a podcast and everybody's got social media, and they can just say all kinds of stuff, right? So those are two things that no days off, no every day is competition day, and as far as that goes, and then you can't always trust all those things that people say, and so to kind of get back on the point, there is the um, we get to finish a season in athletics. We get to finish a school year, get ready for another school year. But sometimes in health and wellness, we don't take a second and just stop for a second and say, okay, what did I get accomplished this year? What exactly did I get accomplished? Where was I when I started 2023? How much better have I gotten in some areas? How much worse have I gotten in some areas? Which games did I win? Which type of time of the year did I win? Which time of the year did I lose or maybe not do as well? And so and kind of evaluate your year. And then what are you going to do about it for next year? What are you going to do with your health for next year? And so we've taken 4 months so far, and we've covered a bunch of stuff. We've repeated a bunch of stuff because it's not that complicated. And what I wanted to do tonight is I just wanted to kind of wrap it all up together, kind of give you just a real good overview show of exactly what, like kind of an evaluation of what the year would look like, and then see if we can structure it in a way to move us forward for next year. So I just thought, man, this would be a cool night. And if we run over and we can finish it up tomorrow night if there's anything that we need to finish up. But I just thought, there's been a lot covered, and let's go over some of it. Let's kind of take it and let's say, all right. And what I want you to do is, when you're listening to the show, I want you to think about whether or not you need any help with any part of this. So if you need some help, this might be the place for you. If you don't need any help, maybe you just need little bits and pieces of it that you can handle yourself, that you can do, and you can help with your family, and you can help in your community and make things better. You don't need any of my help, but maybe a couple of these thoughts might spur you a little bit and say, hey, okay, well, this would be a good idea. Maybe this would be a good idea, or whatever. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the whole big picture, the whole package. What is the whole package of wellness? What is the foundation of it? How do we get there? Let's just kind of wrap 4 months of thoughts and all the books we've done. You take all those books, like our very first one, The End of Alzheimer's, and you get into that, and The Body Keeps the Score, and the Spark book, and the Cancer book, and the Body book that we've done multiple times, and Dr. Lustig's book, all those books that we've kind of gone through so far this year. Let's kind of wrap them up and say, okay, now what is the fundamentals? What are the fundamentals of health? What have I done good this year? What am I going to do better next year? And let's start off with our why. One of the things I am proud of myself for is I've been telling myself for the last 2 years, as soon as we got into this new building in July 1st of 2021, that I was going to do this show. I knew this office was going to be my studio from the day we walked in here. I was like, yep, that's what we'll do with that space. We'll make it a studio so that we can share this information with as many people on the planet as possible. I was actually working through some of the technology that we have here, the whiteboard that I use, and I was actually emailing today with a guy from China, it appeared, that created this whiteboard thing. And I know, don't give me any garbage about that. He's probably a hardworking guy trying to feed his family, and he's just trying to make a living just like anybody else is trying to make a living. And he did a good job. He fixed my problem because my little board was fading out, as some of you guys know, and he fixed it. So what I'm saying is we have a very large a wide reach. We can reach a bunch of people with this platform. And I knew 2 years ago I wanted to do it, and I just didn't get it done. I kept delaying and delaying, and that's why I kind of started with Ken Adams on his show, The Thin Line, and do the Wellness Wednesday. We did that for 2 years, actually. We did that for 2 whole years, and then that kind of spurred off and got us into a different thing, and that is why we're able to pull the trigger. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm proud of myself for getting this show started. It took me 2.5 years, basically, to get it. We're 2.5 years um, from when I very, very first thought of it. Just a little over 2 years, I guess. We've been doing this for 4 months, but so that's one of the things that I'm proud of myself about in 2023. Another thing is I continued on my no sugar routine, and next week, I guess Tuesday will be 22 months. And so I'm proud for that. I've been through 2 Christmases now. Didn't eat the fudge, didn't eat the Christmas cookies, didn't get involved in any of that stuff, stayed away from that sugar. Those are things that I can look back on and say, hey, look, you did it. You're doing good. You're figuring out your routine. You can make this better. You can try to do better for your community. And it's like, why do you care? Why does it matter if you do all this stuff? What difference does it make? Well, that's a great argument, because I made that argument for 30 years. I didn't compete. And it's so amazing to me that I didn't compete. I raised a family. I kept my marriage going. I kept my practice going. I did all those other things. But from a fitness and wellness standpoint, I didn't compete. I looked back at some pictures. I was trying to clean up some pictures on my phone last night, and I was looking back at some of those pictures, and I was just like disgusted with the way that I looked, and I just couldn't believe it. And so, man, it's so much, it's so much more fun to compete. I could see. I used to see the guys doing it, and I just couldn't figure out why they were doing it. I was like, I don't get it. It's like, what difference does it make? You're going to the gym and doing all that working out and all the stuff you're doing. It's like, so what? Like, what difference does it make? I couldn't see it, and they were doing it. And now that I've been in it, we finished our 4th year of our two times a week. In the last 4 years, I worked out more than I worked out in the last 30 years, since 20, yeah, probably 30 years. Really, since 93 is when I quit playing football. I worked out some when I was coaching, but this has been the best routine that I've gotten myself into this last 4 years. I've had to commit. I've had to get I had to make a huge commitment to do it. I teach the classes that keeps me going, right? But man, I'm telling you, it's right now is great. Physically, I still got 30, 40 pounds I'd like to lose. I'm still working on that. I'm not worried about it. I'm not fretting about it. I feel good. I'm functioning well. I just I'm going to keep after that part of it. And the exercise part of it has been great. But why? Why does it matter to me? Well, I've lived them both now. I've lived I've lived a highly competitive life as a college athlete. I've lived a mediocrely competitive life, and now I'm back in a highly competitive life again. And man, I'm telling you, there's not I don't have a study to read you on this one. It's just straight up telling you the truth. This is way more fun. Like this deal is way more fun. This competing, this trying to be great at what you're doing. This whole idea of trying to have this whole package that people can come and get if they want it, and they can succeed in it, and they can be great at it, and you can judge them by the fruits. You can judge them by by their results. You can come in and you can say, man, I hung out with Dr. Clemmons for a year, and I'm so much better. Like, my life is better because he worked his butt off to try to make a place where I could come be better. That's why. That's why. That's really that's really what it gets down to. And man, it's just really fun. It's really fun to have to get up every day and fight. It's really fun to have to like just put it on, man. Just like let's go. Let's go. Let's see if we can be great today. And there's components of being great, right? And then so that's the why there that that drives me to do all this other stuff that I'm doing. So the same thing with you. You got a why. It may be just your family. It may be your kids. It may be your. I don't think it's going to be your health, but maybe it's your health. It's got to be bigger than that. But now let's talk about okay, what is it that deteriorates our health? From a chiropractic wellness standpoint, what exactly is it that causes our health to decline? And it comes down in our world, the few of us that hang out together, in my little world that I hang out in, it comes down to one thing, and that one thing, and it's pretty simple. That one thing for us um, is a word called subluxation. Hang on, let me. Subluxation. And and that word means something to me. That word means something to you and your health, whether you know it or not. And that word is something that is a big deal because it breaks you down. When you're subluxated, you're broken down. It's interference. It's disruption in the nervous system. Disruption in the nervous system. That's what subluxation is. And it can happen in what we look at, and it's like what causes the subluxation? What causes the subluxation? Toxins, traumas, and autosuggestion. That's the old timers' way of saying it. What we say is physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. That's what breaks us down. Those are the things right there that break us down is the physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. So let's talk about for a second. Let's talk about what exactly are those, like what is when I say that, what am I talking about that's going to disrupt your health for 2024? What are the things that is going to disrupt your health? Physical stress, right? Physical stresses are are obvious to us when we think about getting hurt, right? Or we lifted a refrigerator, we lifted a couch, we tried to lift a case of water, we got bucked off a horse, we flipped a four wheeler, we got in a car wreck. What those are physical things, right? But let's think about some of the other physical things that disrupt our health as well. Okay, the bed we sleep in can be a physical stressor. The chairs that we sit in can be physical stressors. The the work environment that like where the desk is, how high the desk is, where the computer screen is at your work can be a physical stressor to you. The shoes that you wear can be a physical stressor to you. Um, the different pairs of shoes you may have multiple pairs of shoes that you wear on a week in a week's time, and they can be physically stressing on you as well. And so there's multiple ways to to figure that out. There's multiple systems. um, there's multiple physical stresses that a person can have that can start to break them down. And those physical stresses can also be internal. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an external physical stress. It can also be an internal physical stress, meaning you can have muscles that are not firing properly. You can have bones. It's it's not that bones are misaligned properly, but you can have a structure that's bad, like your spine can be misaligned, your feet can be turned out in one way or the other. You can have a firing pattern in your nervous system that is not firing the way it's supposed to. You can have a worn out joint. So what my mom goes through, has a knee that doesn't work. Your shoulder might not function properly. Those are physical stressors. Looking down at our phones all the time with our head forward is a physical stressor, right? Those are things that if we want to make sure that we're functioning well in 2024, we really ought to think about those physical stresses, not just the injuries, not just the major things, right? Not just the car wrecks or those major deals, but the day-to-day physical stresses that we're dealing with. What do we need to correct right there to eliminate those physical stresses so that our body can adapt, right? Chemical stresses, paint thinners, insecticides, pesticides, cleaning materials, inks, glues, any of those things, right? Like we want to make sure that we're paying attention to the physical stressors, like antiperspirant. Like that's a thing that's not in the wellness world. You can use deodorant, but not antiperspirant. Antiperspirant is toxic, and so you got to watch some of those toxins. One of the, like we got some candles for Christmas. My daughter and my wife got a gift of some candles, and I went in last night, tell my daughter good night, and it was she was burning that candle, and I was like, "Oh, that's horrible!" Like you could just smell the toxic fumes coming off of that candle. You got to watch out for something like that, right? Then we get into what's going on in our environment. You live in West Texas, you're under a toxic load. I promise you that, because they spray every one of these farms that are around us, these cotton fields, with all kinds of chemicals. They put all kinds of chemicals in that dirt. And then as soon as the wind starts blowing, we're under the chemicals. I mean, and there's chemicals in our water. Like it's all over the place out here. And it's not uncommon. I'm sure it's the same place all over the world. Everybody's got chemical issues. And then let's talk about the chemical parts that get into our foods. That's where we start to really work it out. And it's like what kind of foods are we eating? Processed foods? Are we eating artificial colors and sweeteners? Are we eating non-organic foods or GMO type foods? What are the things that we're actually eating? What are the things that our animals that we're eating are eating? Right? That's another concept that adds to the whole list. What are some of those things? Like, are we feeding our animals corn? Are we feeding our cows corn and then eating the cow and then getting that high omega-6 level that's going on in that chemical stress right there? That's a big deal. That is a big deal, that because it gets down to your mitochondria. And when you want to protect your mitochondria, you want to balance that 6:3 ratio. So you want to make sure that animal's eating grass. It does matter. People say it doesn't matter. It does matter. And it matters to you're on a cellular level about the way that your body functions. So that is a big deal right there. You want to make sure that the chemicals that you're wearing, the detergents or the any of that stuff, sometimes fabric softeners, or your sheets smell like a fabric softener or something. Those chemicals can get in your system, and they can break you down. They can create a stress response. They can create an allergy. All of a sudden, I've heard it right before Christmas. I heard a bunch of it over and over again about food allergies. All of a sudden, we're getting food allergy testing. Sometimes I actually think that a doctor comes along into our town, and the doctor is super cool, and people like that doctor, and that doctor does a really good job, and they do a job, and then all of a sudden I start hearing the results of what that doctor's doing. I think that's what actually happens. It's like sometimes it's really good for my people, and sometimes it leads them kind of a little bit astray. So, but that can be a thing. The way your gut's functioning, got to watch out for those things. So physical, chemical, and then the last one's mental, emotional. Those mental, emotional stressors that we have, Are we going to make it through Christmas? Are we going to make it through our marriage? Are we going to make it through work? Are we going to be able to pay our bills? Are we going to be able to raise our kids? Are we going to even have a, is it going to be a World War III? What are those mental emotional stresses that break us down? And we've got to be careful with those things. I saw today there was an article that they were doing a piece today on the local TV station about postpartum depression. And postpartum depression, in my world, postpartum depression, we've broken that down multiple times, right? Postpartum depression is that right side to left side brain activity and very low DHA, that because the mom has donated the DHA to the child. So, hey, we're coming up on a break. Let's take this break for a second. We'll come back. We'll talk about the rest of the things, and then what are we going to do about it in 2024? Yeah, so postpartum depression for moms, right? So that remember, and it's been a few weeks since we did this little drawing on our. We'll do it real quick while we're on the break, because I could tell just by watching the little piece that that they didn't know what they were dealing with. Like it's if you don't understand it, there's your brain. You're looking for up and to the right and over to the left, right? That's the pathway that we want to get that done. Well, if this over to the left doesn't happen, then our anxiety and depression is going to increase. We're going to get an increased amount of anxiety and depression whenever whenever are we're stuck in that pathway. And then the other thing is there's EPA and there's DHA in the fish oil. Well, that's your omega 3 right there. Inside that omega 3 is your EPA and your DHA. Well, one of the things that happens is mom donates her DHA to the baby. And if the mom is not eating any omega 3s, if the mom's not eating fish or taking her fish oil, what will happen is her DHA tank will get low, and then that will cause depression because that's vitally important for the synapses that go on inside the brain. We need that DHA for our brain to function properly, and if our brain doesn't function properly, we'll end up with anxiety and depression. And um, it's not necessarily a counseling issue that needs to take place. It's a physical, neurological issue that needs to take place. We got to get that mom's DHA back up. It always happens worse. That you get the first child, and then here comes the second child, and then here comes the third child. And I don't know if we talked about that Andrea Yates lady. I think we did early in the very beginning. That back in the day, you can look her up. She had 5 children, and by the time she had that fifth child, she drowned all 5 kids in a bathtub, right? But she was the valedictorian of her class, and she was a registered nurse. So she wasn't. She was a sharp lady. She wasn't like some sort of crazed individual her whole entire life. It was after 5 children. Well, what does it mean to me? It means her DHA got low. She donated the DHA to the baby, and every time she had another baby, she donated more DHA. She lost that ability to refuel her DHA, and that ended up costing her those babies' life and putting her in jail for the rest of her life. It was tragic. It was a tragic deal right there. So, all right, we're coming back on from the break. Hang on one second. All right, this is Jason Clemmons, and you're listening to Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. It's Thursday, December 28th, and we're putting it all together for you. We're taking 4 months worth of stuff. We're wrapping up 2023. We're heading into 2024, and so I just wanted to we're breaking down the physical, chemical, and mental emotional stresses, and that's what causes subluxation. And that's what's going to cause your body to break down in 2024. So if you want to live an optimally healthy life in 2024, you got to address your physical, chemical, and mental emotional stresses. You got to make sure that you get those under control, make improvements in all three of those areas right there, and you'll improve your health. So let's talk about some really simple, essential things that we like to mention that I learned when I first got into chiropractic. I learned these five essentials of health, and the five essentials of health. Number one is food. Number two is water. Number three is oxygen. Number four is rest. And number five is nerve energy. And those are the five essentials of health. So let's just start right there. Let's be really simple about what we're going to do in 2024 that's going to make our life better. We're going to look at those five essentials of health. What kind of food are we eating? What kind of water? Are we getting any water to drink at all? Do we ever drink just any water? Number three is, are we getting any oxygen? Which, when you get into oxygen, you're getting into exercise. Are you getting any rest? Not just rest, but sleep. And is your body resting, right? Parasympathetic activity. And that's what we get into the heart sound recorder and the heart rate variability test. And then nerve energy. Is your body subluxated? Are you firing the pathway up and to the right, over and to the left? Is your body talking to your brain and your brain talking to your body the way it's supposed to? That's what you want to know. And we can test that. We've got things to do. We're here in the office. But if someone says to me, like, man, I don't understand what's happening and I don't feel good. Well, number one thing is, what if you had to eat today? What if you had any water? When's the last time you had a glass of water? Are you getting any oxygen? Have you done any exercise? Are you getting your sleep? And what's your nervous system doing? Those are simple. Those are simple things that we can do to make ourselves healthier in 2024. Not complicated. We can fix those things right there. And so that's those the very simple things. So from an evaluation standpoint, what do I need to do to be healthier next year? I need to detect and address my subluxations, my physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress, and I need to focus on the five essentials of health: food, water, oxygen, rest, and nerve energy. That's what I need to do to move into 2024 and be healthier, right? So let's talk about what were the things that we would do to in the office that's going to help you with those things, and how can we help, or wherever you want to go. Sorry, this mouse wears me out sometimes. Sorry. What can we do to help you, or what or some of the things that maybe you could do to help yourself, right? So let's talk about, and this is a trademarked little phrase right here: eat well, move well, think well, right? That's what we want to do. We want to eat well, move well, and think well in 2024. So what would we do to help you at the Rock, and how would you might want to do it yourself if you were doing it yourself? Well, number one, we need to check your nervous system. So here's the whole package. Here's the whole package about how we could help you, or the things that we might do for you here at the Rock. Number one is we would check your nervous system, because I think it starts with the brain. I really do. I really think that you got to get your brain functioning properly, and your body will follow your brain. And you got to make sure that your brain is functioning properly before you work on the rest of it. And I know you guys know this because you've had a shoulder problem for 15 years. You've had a knee problem for 12 years. Man, that old high school injury I had on that ankle is still bugging me, right? And I'll be willing to bet you that you've done all kinds of things on that knee or that shoulder or that ankle. I bet you've done salves, you've rubbed stuff on there, you've gotten gels and essential oils and all kinds of stuff that you've used to rub on there to try to make it feel better. I bet you've gotten wraps. You probably bought some what's that boy's name? Tommy Copper or something, right? You got some copper socks on or something like that. You got you've tried so many different things to get your feet, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, all those things to work better. But I'll present for your consideration. I'll be willing to bet you never thought about starting with your brain. That wasn't something that crossed your mind. And it's not usually something that crosses your mind. But that might be a good idea, because if your brain's not firing properly, you could have orthopedic problems unless you've had an acute injury. Remember, orthopedic problems follow brain problems. The brain firing pattern happens first, then the orthopedic problem happens second. So you want to make sure that you get brain to body connection working properly. So we want to check your nervous system. We want to look at your structure. We want to take x-rays of you and look at your structure and measure your x-rays and see what your structure is doing. Is your cervical curve proper? Is your spine lined up straight from top to bottom? Are your hips balanced? Are your femurs balanced? Are your hip heights balanced? What is it that's going on? Why do you have certain bends and twists that are going on in your spine? Those are things that are super important to us, and we want to address those for you. And then we want to measure, how your brain is functioning. How is it firing? And that's where we come in, and we've got the right eye test. And the right eye test will give us some feedback on the different parts of your brain and how your brain is firing. Then we come in with the pupillary light reflex. We see what's going on with that. We've got 4 or 5 neurological tests that we do in the office. We've got a balance plate in the office that you can stand on, and we can check all of your vestibular system, your canals in your ears and your balance. So because vestibular, visual, and proprioception are the 2 main parts of your balance system. So if you're off balance, then your proprioceptive system is not working, meaning the sensory input from your joints are not working properly. And that's not just joints either. That's muscle, that's fascia, it's even skin. All of that sensory input coming into the brain at 3 trillion bits of information per second. All that is coming into the brain, and the brain needs that information. So that's the proprioceptive system. And then the visual system, are your eyes working? And then the next one is that vestibular system, those little canals in your ears, and how are they working? So we have a balance plate for you that we can measure that and actually get objective data for you to find out, hey, what's going on? Another great thing about those 3 tests, the right eye test, the pupillary light reflex test, and the balance plate test, is that they're fantastic for baselines. Even if you're functioning well, it would be super awesome to get those baselines so that if something goes wrong with you in 2024, we can now remeasure. If you think you're not functioning properly, you get to June or July, or you get in a car wreck, or if you're an athlete, or if you're a coach of an athlete, if you've got kids in sports, like before they get their concussion, it'd be awesome to get them a baseline. And then we could better help them get through those concussions, because we've got a way to measure those things and say, hey, look, this is your baseline. This is where you were in the beginning, and this is where you are now. And especially with that pupillary light reflex, you don't want to go out there and have another concussion while you're still recovering from your first concussion. And that's really, really, in my experience so far, this is one of the most it's one of the more improperly handled things that we're doing with our kids that's new as compared to when I was in school. Nobody measured a concussion when I was in school. Didn't even know what that was. You had a headache, you kept playing. No one even talked about it. But today we know more than we did back then. And the combination between who's running the show, is it the athletic trainer at school? Is it the medical doctor that's doing it? Is it us that's doing it? Is it the coach that's doing it? Is it the parents that's doing it? Who's actually the one that's actually measuring the data? Because I had a kid come in here that had a concussion. We tested him. His scores were horrible. You could tell from his scores that something was neurologically was wrong with his brain, but he never came back. He didn't follow through with any of the stuff that we were doing here in the office. And then before I know it, before 2 or 3 weeks had even gone by, he's back in there playing again. And so I'm like, well, I guess he said, well, I feel fine. That's not a good measurement stick. To feel fine is not a good measurement stick. You really want some objective data when you're talking about your brain, right? People say that right before they have cancer too. I feel fine, right? So anyway, those are baseline things that we can do to measure how your brain is firing. Those things. We got a foot leveler scanner here, so we can build you a set of orthotics, and we can measure the bottom of your feet. That's one of those physical stresses that come in. If your feet are super flat, then that's causing stress on the ankle. It's causing stress on the knee. It's causing stress on the hips. And of course, we're going to start with the brain because we want the brain to be firing first. But as we're working through this, some support right there. The foot levelers are fantastic support to give you a foundation that you can be in. And I wear them almost every single day. That they're great to go along with the whole package. They're not the end all be all of anything, but they're the great to go along with the whole package. And then in our office, what I want to do is I want to sit down with you and I want you to tell me about your history. I want you to tell me about what's going on with you. What have you tried in the past? What have you done? How's your body functioning? All those things that's a one-on-one time that you and I have together that we break it down and say, hey, look, Dr. Clemmons, this is what's going on with me, this, and this. Because let me tell you something. There is value in talking to your doctor. All of a sudden in society, we have lost that value. The doctors have lost it and the patients have lost it. Doctors don't want to talk to their patients. That's why nurse practitioners and PAs exist, because the doctors all of a sudden are too busy. They don't want to talk to their patients. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying PAs aren't fabulous, and I'm not saying nurse practitioners aren't fabulous, and I'm not saying anything personal about any of those people. I'm saying that there's a value to the depth. Like last night, we were talking about horizontal and vertical when it comes to your planning and and organizing your life right now in getting things done with David Allen. So your doctor has vertical depth. And when your doctor's listening to you, when you have a history session with your doctor and your doctor's listening to you, the first thing you want to know is he's writing anything down. And sometimes the doctor doesn't even listen, but I'll tell you, I listen to you. I sit right in front of you with a pen and a paper, and I listen to everything that you're saying. And while I'm listening to those things that you're saying to me, I'm going through vertical knowledge of 20-something years of doing this work. All of this stuff that I'm reading, all of this stuff that I've studied, I'm going through all of that vertical knowledge right there to try to understand why your systems might be interfered with, what might be causing your problem. And you have no idea. Most of the patients that are sitting across from me at the table, they don't have any idea what's going through my brain. And they think they know what's going on with them. But most of the time, they don't. They'll tell me their story, but they don't know the right side to the left side brain. They don't know that's how the nervous system is supposed to fire. So that's data that they don't have, that when they're telling me, I've got the data. I've got a lot of information. Plus, I've already done their pupillary light reflex. I've already done their right eye test. I've already taken their x-rays and marked their x-rays for them before they ever tell me their problems. So I kind of have an idea of how their body is functioning before they sit down and talk to me. But when they do sit down and talk to me, I think that's a big deal. It's important that we have that conversation so that we can get that information. And then that's gonna wrap up our initial evaluation part from a chiropractic nervous system health standpoint. But now we can get into nutrition. And we can get into, what do you want to do for your nutrition in 2024? What kind of evaluation would you like to have? And we talked about that this week, right? You were all fixing to do it. Everybody's fixing to jump into the New Year's resolutions and, man, I want to be healthy in 2024. And they're going to go searching for things. And, I would like to say to you, this would be the last time you ever do that if you came and did it with us, because you wouldn't need another system for the rest of your life, because the system that we're talking about that we've built here at The Rock is designed for a lifetime. It's not a quick fix fad thing. It's not something that you're going to take a shot or take a pill and then all of a sudden you think you're going to be healthy. No, you can book it. You can build your foundation on The Rock. That's why we call it The Rock. So we can get into nutrition, and what are we going to do? Well, we're going to put your symptom survey in there. You're going to fill out some information for us. You're going to fill out a toxicity report. Those are the two things you're going to do. Then we're going to do some testing of our own. We're going to make sure, if you're not a chiropractic patient, you can come to The Rock and just be a nutrition patient. You do not have to be a chiropractic patient. You can do them both at the same time. But if you want to just come be a nutrition patient, we're going to take a cervical curve x-ray of you. And you say, why would you do that? Why would you take a cervical curve x-ray for a nutrition patient? Because your brain's going to tell you what you're going to eat. And your brain's going to be listening to your gut. Your gut's going to try to be telling you what you're going to eat. But the status of your brain is going to determine what's on your plate. If you're tired, if you're not functioning properly, if you don't feel good, if you're exhausted, if all those things are happening to you, man, it's hard to eat right. We all know that. When we get tired and exhausted, it's just like, I don't care. Let's just get a pizza. Like, those are the things that we fall back on when we're tired. So it's super important that we get that cervical curve evaluated for your nutritional health. Nobody that I know of on the planet does a nutritional evaluation with a cervical curve x-ray. I've never heard of it ever in my entire life. Nobody that I know of does that. So we're going to do it because I think it's vitally important, and I can make an argument for it too. Then we're going to do your heart rate variability test. That's going to measure sympathetic and parasympathetic activity, your brain, how it's functioning, and your autonomic nervous system. That's part of that rest. Food, water, oxygen, rest, and nerve energy. Those are those things right there, right? So those are vitally important on that rest part. Well, rest is sleep, but rest is also your nervous system rest, your parasympathetic activity. And there's chemicals involved in that. That's the brain to the cell. How does the brain tell the cell what to do? It tells it through a chemical. It'll send some sort of chemistry to it, and it'll tell the cell, hey, look, I want you to rest right now. I want you to calm down and rest. And if that system's not working, it'll show up on that. There's a lot of times on that heart rate variability test. It's an awesome thing for you. And then the heart sound recorder is giving us some information on the nutrition of your heart valves. What is your heart valve? Is your heart valve getting the nutrition it needs to make the sound that it's supposed to make? And you've been to the doctor your whole entire life, and the doctor's put the stethoscope on your chest and on your heart, and he's listened for heart sounds. Well, what the technology we have, they've taken the stethoscope and they've turned it into a little device that now can measure your heartbeat and give us a graph of what your heart is, how your heart is beating. And we can do it on sound, and we can see what's going on and see if your heart has the nutrients that it needs to function the way it's supposed to. That's why we put those things together. We do the in-body scan, which is body composition, so that hey, look, I need my percent body fat is here. I need my target is here. So we can go to work. And you might start working out. You might lose some fat and gain some muscle, and your weight stays the same, but your body composition is way better. And that's super important. And people get frustrated because their body composition changes, and they know that there changes, but their weight doesn't change. Well, we do not care about your weight changing. Your weight's going to find its own way. I promise you. It's going to find its own way. When you start doing healthy things, you'll figure out, your weight will figure itself out. So we do that. Then, of course, we do that omega-6-3 test. It's a little finger prick test that we do. Get a drop of blood. We we send it off and we get it measured for you, and that tells us exactly what's going on with your 6-3 ratio and your inflammation, your EPA and your DHA, all those things that are vitally important for your health that no one ever talks about. That's something that we do. We've got other tests that go along with it. We do some blood pressure stuff in the office, and then all that part, the nutrition part, tells us, hey, what supplements might serve you best? Why? Is there some sort of legitimate objective measurement that says, hey, look, here's some areas that you might do better in with your supplements? And then we work on your nutrition plan about how you eat. And if you want to, we can go to the grocery store together. We have a shop with the doc program that I go to the grocery store with you, and we just walk around the grocery store. And you and I just sit there, we just walk around and we talk about what's going on, and we find out what do you like, what do you not like. You ask me questions. Sometimes we're in there for 30 minutes. So I've been in there before for 2 hours with patients just walking through on the shop with the doc. And then that way we can build a program that fits your family. If you're 50 something, you're 60 something years old, and your kids are gone, and there's just you and your spouse. All right, that's one way. That's a easier controlled diet plan than if you're young and you've got young kids, or you got you know adolescents or whatever, and you got all kinds of activities going on. Sometimes that's harder. So we can kind of build something that fits your program best for you, and see what exactly we want to do there. And then we follow up on that every 6 or 8 weeks, and kind of see where we need to make changes. And we even got a 21-day detox. If you want to do that to start the year, then we can start the year off with that. And then the last part of it is the fitness. And it's the, hey, look, how are you going to work out? Who are you going to work out with? Is someone going to watch over you when you're working out? Is there somebody that cares whether or not you show up to the gym? Is there a community that you're working out with? CrossFit was one of the fastest growing businesses on the planet. And part of the reason was the community of it. The community of that's what Greg Glassman taught me, and he spoke about it lots of times. He's like, the thing that made CrossFit work is the community. You got to have that group of people to help you in your fitness. And if you've got someplace, if you belong to a good community group and you've got a workout program that fits you, then that's fantastic. You can just stay after it. But if you need some help with that, if you need to come work out with us, we've still got some spots open for our classes that we do at 6 in the morning and 7 in the morning. Our 8 o'clock class is full at the moment, and we have a 2:30 in the afternoon class that is still got some spots open. So we can help you out with that from a fitness standpoint. And the way that we do that, we do 2 high intensity workouts per week. And intensity, let's make sure we understand that, is based on you, not on some other random thing. Intensity is relative to yourself. So what is your heart rate doing? And are we keeping you in a proper zone? And then are we moving through the proper movements in a proper manner that keep you from getting hurt? And then we encourage that's 2 days a week. And then we encourage you to do something on those other days. Go for a walk, get outside, do something. And then that's the idea behind the workouts. We do 3 types of workouts. They have some fancy names. The phosphocreatine or the phosphagen workout, which is a really quick 10-second workout where you do something really quickly and you repeat that. Or the next one is a 3-minute, doesn't really matter. It's the glycolytic pathway. It's the 3-minute workout program where you just repeat, you do 4 or 5 cycles of 3 minutes or less at a time. And then the last one is the oxidative, or what most people call aerobic. And then your aerobic exercise that we do for longer periods of time. Most of those workouts that we do last about 20 to 25 minutes. We do some warming up, and then we do the workout part. But I'm there, or Brooke is there at 2:30, and all those things are things that we do to make sure that that things are going right for you, that you're safe in your environment, and that you're getting a good workout. And they've been fantastic. The workouts have been great. I'm telling you that, like, you don't need to overwork out. If you thought of workouts as a nutrient, what would you do? So Um, that's the way that we the workout. That's our workout program in the Rock Fitness. So, oh, my show's over. Sorry about that. I'll see you guys on tomorrow night at 6. Man, I went over on that on the radio, but I just to finish it up. That's what we do in the office. We do your chiropractic wellness program to evaluate your nervous system. We've got a nutritional program and we've got a fitness program, and all those things together, man. If you want to have a rocking 2024, you can do any part of that or all that together. If you did all that together, you would be healthier by the time 2024 is over. No question about that. That you would have a healthier you, and you would be so glad that you did this whole program. So anything I could do to help you, just let me know. You guys can send me a message. I see Lewis got that. Thanks for sending us a message, and thanks for finding us and watching us on the show. Anything else I could do, just send me a message. You can send us a text. There's the text line right there on the running on across the screen, so you can send me a text if you need to. And otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow night at 6. Hope you guys